So in this video, I'll be sharing with you two lesser known events which took place during the search for Nicola Bulley. This includes the cordoning off of the towpath and the bench area 7 days into the disappearance, and also a CSI investigation into a suspicious vehicle close to the estuary. Firstly, let's take a look at the cordoning off of the towpath and bench area which took place on February the 2nd. Lancashire police cordoned off Riverside where missing mum Nicola Bulley was last seen. Police today cordoned off the scene where missing mum Nicola Bulley's phone was found as their search entered its 7th day. Officers have taped off a footpath leading to the Riverside bench where the 45-year-old's phone was discovered and where her Springer Spaniel dog was found alone and loose last Friday. Police divers are concentrating their search efforts on the stretch of river close to the bench, but have yet to find any evidence to suggest she might have entered the water. On Thursday, February the 2nd, police divers disappeared under the water, making sweeps of the river as more officers with underwater search equipment arrived. Before they arrived, flowers were found left on the bench with a handwritten message, which said, quote, "My thoughts and prayers go out to your family and Willow. Love, a fellow dog walker." Sniffer dogs, drones and a police helicopter have also been used to search the river which cuts through farmland. Okay, so interestingly here, 7 days into the disappearance of Nicola Bulley, the police did actually set up a cordon blocking people from accessing the towpath or the area around the bench. Now from memory, I believe this was down to public safety or the safety of the divers entering the water at a certain stretch. But I do find that a little bit odd, the fact that we're now 7 days into the disappearance, they've been searching that river, particularly in the area around the bench for a considerable amount of time at this point. Yet on the 7th day of her disappearance, this area is completely cordoned off. Now, from memory, I believe that the area which was searched on this occasion when the police cordon was in place was again just below the bench area. So this wasn't some new stretch of river somewhere they hadn't seen before or hadn't been in before, hadn't rechecked before. This was again just below the bench area. And I think a lot of people are going to say, well, hang on a minute. This wasn't treated as a crime in the first instance. There was no protection or police cordon set up during the first stages of this investigation. Yet 7 days later, you're now putting a cordon in place, stopping people, stopping the public from accessing the footpath or the towpath area and the area around the bench. Why is that? Is it simply down to police safety protocol and that they wanted to keep the divers safe when entering the water? Or what exactly is taking place here? What I find interesting about the date in which this cordon was put up is that it seems to coincide with the change in the timeline. Now this could just be a pure coincidence, but on February the 2nd, they close off the towpath. They close off the area around the bench. And we also know that on February the 2nd, the timeline concerning the last known sighting of Nicola Bulley changes drastically. Let's just clarify exactly what happened during the first 7 days of the search for Nicola Bulley. Now, it was widely reported, not just by mainstream media, but also by the police, for the first 7 days of her disappearance, that Nicola was last seen on the towpath, not the upper field, not by the bench, not on the lower field, but walking on the towpath between 9:15 and 9:20. And as I say, this was the first 7 days of the search for Nicola Bulley from January the 27th until February the 2nd. But from February the 3rd onwards, until they found her body, the last known sighting changed from the towpath area up to the upper field. It was there that by all accounts a 70-year-old male walking a white fluffy dog saw Nicola at 9:10 a.m. But it's really important to remember that the first 7 days, that first 7-day period, it's the police themselves who believe the last person to see Nicola is at 9:15 to 9:20 on the towpath, the very same place which is cordoned off, and then the timeline changes the very next day. I mean, so much happens in this case around February the 2nd and February the 3rd. Just off the top of my head, you had that lady with the red coat. She was caught on CCTV. The police were urgently looking for her, trying to get in touch with this woman because they believed that she may have seen Nicola on her walk. This woman eventually gets in touch with the police and says, "No, I didn't see Nicola that morning. I don't know why the police are looking for me. I've already spoken to the police the day she went missing, and I definitely didn't see Nicola Bulley." So on February the 2nd, the lady in the red coat is identified. This so happens to coincide with the cordon being put in place, blocking access to the towpath and the area surrounding the bench. The very next day, the timeline concerning Nicola Bulley shifts dramatically. It moves from the last sighting being at 9:15 to 9:20 on the towpath to around 9:10 a.m. on the upper field. So a lot of activity between February the 2nd and February the 3rd. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, this is the only time period, as in February the 2nd, this is the only day that this area was cordoned off. Even after Nicola was reported missing, there was no cordon in place, there was nothing to block reporters or the public from accessing that bench area. But for some reason, 7 days after her disappearance, this area is cordoned off. Now, this could simply be what the police stated the entire time, that the cordon was put in place to keep the public safe, to keep members of the public away from the river, and also keep the divers safe whilst they searched a certain stretch of the River Wyre. Or maybe they even believed that they had found something at that point in time, maybe an item of clothing or something they didn't want the press to see. Each of those, to me, is a logical, reasonable explanation. But what intrigues me, as I say, is the amount of activity, the shift in the direction, the shift in the timeline, the eyewitness accounts, the change in Nicola's location between February the 2nd and February the 3rd, a location which is paramount to this investigation being unsealed for the first 7 days of her disappearance, yet on February the 2nd a cordon is put in place restricting access to the towpath and the bench location. But something else also took place on February the 3rd, a suspicious car. Now this is from Skipple Creek Car Park. Let's just take a look at the following newspaper article here. CSI and forensics tape off Skipple Creek Car Park near River Wyre in Thornton. A car park and footpath has been cordoned off by police next to the River Wyre in Thornton on Friday, February the 3rd. Officers taped off Skipple Creek Car Park between the River Wyre and Thornton Cleveley's Cricket Club while CSI and forensics worked at the scene. Lancashire Police have not disclosed what has happened at this stage. CSI officers in white suits were seen entering the car park and returning to their vans with evidence bags. Police said they were investigating a report of a suspicious vehicle in the car park. "We looked into it, but there was nothing to it," said a spokesman for Lancashire Police. The force has not said whether the report of a suspicious vehicle was related to the ongoing search for the missing mother of two, Nicola Bulley. The 45-year-old disappeared a week ago whilst walking her Springer Spaniel dog near the River Wyre in the village of St Michael's 8 miles away. She has not been seen or heard from since. So not a great deal of information contained within that newspaper article there, but a point worthy of mention, I guess, is the 2 evidence bags taken away from the scene. Now, Lancashire Police have said that they're not connected or nothing really came of this investigation. But I think what drew my attention personally is the location itself and the close proximity of this car park to the estuary. Now, we know that the estuary was a very well searched location. It was continuously searched by the police during this missing person investigation, and also the Shard Bridge. I would often hear a lot of reports from locals who would describe helicopters and the police searching around the Shard Bridge area, looking maybe for signs of clothing or signs of Nicola Bulley during the first 2 weeks of this search. Do leave your own thoughts and theories regarding the bench area and towpath being cordoned off on the 7th day of the search for Nicola Bulley, and also this suspicious car which was found in Skipple Creek Car Park. Did that have any relevance or any bearing to the case of Nicola Bulley? Do leave your own thoughts and theories down in the comments section below. As always, many thanks for joining me for this video. If you found this video helpful, then please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel down below. And I look forward to seeing you all again for the next one. Take care. Cheers.